Hello everyone. In the last video we talked that in this video we are going to talk about the database layer or repository layer where we are going to deal with database connections, because any data, okay, be it a staff's list or staff data the user gives as an input, we cannot store it in temporary lists, because if you store it in temporary lists inside the code, inside the program, simply when you stop and rerun the program, the data will be lost. Okay, that is why every time we run and test, the get method gives us an empty list. We have to again input it to see do any further operations. So if I add few data during the application running, when I stop the application and restart, again we will start with the empty list, right? Because the application, whenever the application starts, we lost all the data and we start from the new array list. So that is why we need a database connection always. So we start from controller, we move to service, and from that we have to go to database connection. That connection handling scenario is called repository. So we should basically have a repository package. Whether we have controller, service, model, like that, we are going to have a repository package. There we should have repository related classes that is dealing with any database queries or adding the data, getting the data, things like that. And that should be connected to the service class. And from the service class, again, it should go to the controller. So the logic should go controller, service, and repository. So before we start with repository class or repository anything, first we have to set up the database or database related things in our local machine or wherever we are running this application. So for that, one thing we can do is we need MySQL. So I hope you guys are aware what is MySQL is, and also it's better if we have MySQL Workbench. Okay. So you can download MySQL and MySQL Workbench and set up those things. I will add the video in my description, video link. Just follow this out, and you will be able to download and set up MySQL and obviously MySQL Workbench as well. So if you are watching this video and if you haven't set up MySQL or Workbench, I want you to pause the video for a moment. Click the link in the description and watch the video and follow the steps to set up MySQL and MySQL Workbench and continue from this point again. Okay, so because in my local I have already set up MySQL and Workbench, I'm just going to proceed with that now. Okay, so I will show you one thing before that. Before we proceed with the MySQL, I just want you to go to the application and simply go to your service class, and I want you to annotate it with an annotation called service annotation. Okay, so for the moment even though we don't need it, I want you to do it because in future when we are doing things, I want you to avoid going through any errors. So when we in the controller, you see we are annotating the class with address controller method. That is helping the application to understand this is the controller class. So and when we go to that service class, likewise I want you to annotate it with add service method. So this will prevent errors in upcoming videos or upcoming flows. So please ensure you are doing this. Okay, so let's go back to the MySQL or database setups and let's see how we are going to do things. Okay, so if you download MySQL and if you have set up the MySQL database and Workbench, looking at the video in the description, now that means you have MySQL in your local. Okay, so what you have to do is simply go to your search bar and search for CMD. Okay, and you're opening a command window, and then what you have to do is you have to type MySQL -u and your username. So if you have watched the video and set up this MySQL, you know how to log in this way into MySQL. So my MySQL username is root. Okay, and again -p to input the password. Okay, and before inputting the password, you have to press enter. Okay, then it will ask you to enter your password. So my password is root. Root is the one that I have set up for password as well. So I will type root and enter. Okay, then that means the MySQL has successfully up and running, started. Okay, so that will give me a MySQL terminal. Okay, so if you have watched the video in the description, obviously you know what I am doing. Okay, now what I can do is I can see what are the databases I have created or what are the tables there. Everything I can see through this. Okay, so if you if I want to see the existing databases, what I will do is I will say show databases and a semicolon. So this will show me my existing databases. So I have an information schema, MySQL, performance schema, render vehicle, and SYS databases. So this is all I have. Okay. So for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new database for my application. Okay. So my application is a staff management system, right? Something like that, or a staff or something, staff management application. So let me create a database called staff management. Okay. So what I will do is I'll go to my terminal or command prompt and I will type create database and I will give the name that I want to give. So I will give, let's say, staff management. Okay. I will create a database with the name of staff management. So if you know some basics of MySQL, you know what I'm doing. Okay, so the query okay, one row affected means this has been successfully added. So I can again see the databases using the keyword called show databases. So it is, you can see here my staff management database has been added. So you can check with the previous query results, the current results. You can compare both and you can find newly this database has been created. Okay, so since I have created my databases for this for my application, now I can proceed with the rest of the work. So for the easiness of the work or easiness of the understanding, I'm going to use MySQL Workbench, which I have installed along with the MySQL. So if you have watched the video in the description, you know, you also have it in your local and you know what you are doing. Okay, so I will open my MySQL Workbench, this one. It's up and running now. Okay, so I will open my MySQL instance here. Okay, so here you can see that the database I have created is existing here, that has been successfully created, renter vehicle, staff management, and sys. Okay, so here you can see again, if you go to the CMD, you can see renter vehicle, staff management, and sys. You can ignore the first three inbuilt databases that is not related to us. So that database I created is staff management, right? So that is also visible in the MySQL Workbench. Okay, so I'm going to play around with that. So if, for the moment, the staff management doesn't have any tables, right? Tables topic is empty, there is nothing inside, right? So what I have to do is we need the table inside that, okay, to do things or play around with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create we are supposed to create a table inside the staff management database. Okay, so before that I need to set up few things in my IntelliJ local. So what I will do is I will go to my application, and what I have to do is I want my application to enable my application to deal with this existing database. I mean, I want my application to handle or create new tables or add data to the new tables or receive data from the new tables or delete or update. I want my application to do those things. Okay, so if my application wants to do those things, I need to add few things in my application. One thing is I need to enable my application to handle these database connections. For that, what I'm going to need is something called Hibernate. Okay, Hibernate is a scenario in Spring Boot that will help you to handle with databases. Okay, and also I will need a MySQL connector and Spring Boot JPA starter, things like that. Don't get yourself much involved into this at the moment, but remember we need some dependencies for my Spring Boot that enables my Spring Boot application to handle all these database related things. Basically, we need all these 4 dependencies in my Spring Boot application to do things. So what are dependencies? What is the concept of dependency? Or actually what happens when you add a dependency to your Spring Boot application, or where to add the dependency? All these things we will see in the next videos. So to proceed further with this database related application enabling for enabling my application to handle databases. So guys, I will catch you up in the next video.